Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to today's Reddit Quickie from the subreddit HFY, called The Spark, written by Regal Eagle. The link to the original story will be down below, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Urga 4535. I stared down at the words on the side of the wall. Why did they even bother painting it up there in the first place? Where else would they go? Who was leaving this place? A planetoid this size was most efficiently mined with 3,000 miners. And so, 3,000 miners they had. No more, no less. With just enough families around them to keep the population where it needed to be. The Archaeid Empire wasn't interested in ferrying slaves around if they didn't have to. The current number of miners was even displayed on the most of the walls. A constant reminder that when the number dropped, more were expected to pick up the tools and get to work. Day in, day out. You work the mines just long enough to die, and then you get replaced. Mine collapse, industrial accidents, ghost lung, or being beat to death by an angry overseer. The cause made no difference to the Archaeid so long as the quotas were met and the populations remained stable. There was something like 1,500 termites since the sightless bugs didn't need lights to get around in the mines. Then roughly 100 Kershiks and Bershiks since the symbiotic creatures were strong, but good Bershiks lived 3 times as long, meaning that the Archaeids could recycle many of the parasites with new hosts and get new miners when the experience of the old one. I'm not as familiar with the last 499, however. The Archaeids had just conquered some new nation of a mixed races, so I was still getting to know them. But the last one, number 3,000, that was Dad, him, and Doc were only 2 other humans that I knew. Not much was left of the one race brave and stupid enough to stand against the Archaeid, pirates, criminals, and miners. That's all that remained. I sighed softly as I started to wander the halls of level 2 while waiting for Dad to finish up with Doc. They'd have to move quickly after they wanted to get the mess hall. I hated level 2. Storage, machine shop, and Doc's medbay. It was always quiet. Much preferred staying on level 3 or 4 where everyone else was. Being the only human kid had made me stand out, but I knew how to make friends. Lately, though, my friends had been avoiding me. I knew why, though. All of the Archaeids had to say about humans and how dangerous human adults were. How often they were degenerate murderers, and how they tortured and committed acts of mass violence. It always seemed like they just didn't want any species muscling in on their turf. Besides, it had to be crap. Doc and Dad were 2 of the nicest people on the station. Everyone looked to them for help and guidance. No human was allowed in a management position in the mine, but everyone knew that Kist and Nrp were stumped they'd give Dad a visit. Plus, Doc was human. Somehow he'd gotten a real education, knew lots about the Xenos and medicine and the like, and the Archaeids normally didn't let slaves have a doctor, but this way their station was more efficient, which meant taskmasters got more commendations, which made him happy. What was taking so long? I was tired of waiting. Whenever I was alone with my thoughts, I got angsty. I pushed open the door to Doc's office just as Dad coughed and I saw a grey cloud of escaped his lips. Doc turned away, even though he had protective mask on. No! The 2 looked and saw me standing at the doorway. Son. Dad got up, buttoning up his shirt. I told you to wait outside. You've got the ghost lung. I couldn't be right. Dad wouldn't get the lung. He couldn't. I didn't need you finding out. Doc, how bad is it? I looked at the Doc for answers. Don't tell him, Doc, Dad growled. He's got to know, the Doc said, looking at my dad to me. He's been hiding it very well for a while, but it's bad. He doesn't have long if he stays in the mine. Then I'll have to take his place. No, you're 17. You're not ready. For what? For working to death in the mines. Why am I not ready for? I've seen the work. I know it won't be easy, but I can do it. We had this argument plenty of times before. No, Dad growled, and then began to cough and wheeze furiously. More puffs of grey smoke coming out. Doc, you can't let him go back down there. I won't, Doc smoothed. Your father needs time to rest anyway. I'll tell the overseers that he's suffering from several minor fractures and you're taking over until he's better. That will keep them from questioning it, and I can keep an eye on him before they find out that he's got the lung. Go on, off to dinner now. Get some sleep. You know where to go in the morning. The entire trip to Sector 3, I wasn't thinking much about anything. I was just worried about Dad and working on figuring out something. I really don't know what I was thinking about. Not much of anything. Did I already notice that? When they dumped that slop on my tray, I was just kept moving. Not even thinking to nod in response to those talking to me. Rissom and Old Horners, and they probably tried talking, but I was soon off on my own, shoveling in the slop as I couldn't get anything going through my mind. Somehow, I made it back to the room without remembering what happened in the mess hall, or how I'd been able to move on my feet. I just sat on my bed looking at the tiny window into the mine entrance down below. Night shift was out there. Like usual, the clouds and dust blocked the stars, but I could see that the mine entrance was bright and clear. I must have dozed off while staring, because the next thing I knew, things were starting to get light and the bell was ringing. I grabbed my set of steels. Wasn't like there were any other kind of shoes that would fit a human like me. Vest, hard hat, light, tea flask, and a rock bread. The line for the chow was too long for my taste, and as nervous as I was, I didn't think that I could keep it down anyway. I headed out into the mines with most of the old crowd. Those who didn't eat morning chow either, for one reason or another. I could feel their eyes on me. Everyone wanted to ask why I was here, but no one did. When the door opened outside and I quickly wrapped the cloth around my face, but put my head down, jogging across the open, stopping before I got ran over by one of the massive drone haulers, and then moving once again when they'd rumbled past. At the mine entrance I saw one of the red power suit guards, and he was holding a data slate, and looked from me to it. "You, boy, why are you here?" "Doc is looking after my dad. Some fractures need to heal. You haven't taken training yet." "I don't need it. I was born to dig. That's all humans are good for, right?" The guard laughed, and I could see his mandibles within his helmet twitch at the same time. "I'm glad we killed the fight out of you, you miserable vermin. Get in the mine then, where you belong." He waved me past, and I held my tongue, venturing down into the deep. Mines, day 1. Cuz came to talk to me personally, and I think that he knew about my dad but never dared say anything. He tried to get me into some light detail, but the Archaeid overseers heard that I was down here and made sure I was sent straight down to the bottom. Not just that, but down to vein 485, with all the Tormac miners. I was the only one with a light and need to see. They were all well-meaning, but spending the shift with miners hearing and feeling things chitter and move around in the dark all around me. Well, there were some deep shivers in my bones that had nothing to do with the gold. Of course, the other effect was that I stood out like a sore thumb to the overseer, so whenever there was a slowdown, who do you think got the lash? It was set to low, but I felt the sting 4 times, and I was tired of it after the first. The others worked harder, though, seeing me take their punishment, which just meant that the overseer got more production from less work on his part. As if whipping me was work at all. I never thought I'd be glad as I got a slop for that night, and as soon as my head hit the pillow, I was out. Day 7. Doc says that he's not sure how to get the meds that he needs for the dad better without drawing notice. Says he'll do what he can. So far, they don't really care. I think we've only got about a month before they actually start asking questions. Otherwise, another long day in the dark. I'm down to 2 lashes a day now. When I hear or see the others struggling, I'll quickly pick up my own pace, or even step up to help them. That way, we don't actually slow down, but he gets less excuse to use the whip. I wish we had more water. The mine dust leaves everything in my mouth feeling gritty. Day 12. Kisk said that I was doing so good that the overseers couldn't keep me in vein 485. They moved me to 487 and into more light. The problem is that the new guys, there's 3, maybe 4 species I don't know so well. They're not great miners. 10 lashes today, and I swear none of the offenses were my fault. But they like whipping humans. We can take more punishment, and we were the only ones who gave them trouble back when we were united species, with a nation of our own and planets and the like. I'll see what I can do with them into shape. Day 16. I saw the Taskmaster today, and I knew that he was big, but seeing is different than imagining. Beat 3 of the new species to death. I'm not sure it was their fault that the jaw broke. I'm really not. But that doesn't matter to him, of course. just grab them and, well, beat them to death. Screaming and ranting about mistakes costing the quotas and the like. He doesn't wear a helmet like the others. I think he enjoys seeing everyone quake in fear at the sight. The scars, those teeth, and that ugly mug in general. I didn't get lashed today. They were too busy yelling at the others. I wasn't allowed near the real tools yet, but the las pick like always. Either way, a day without lashes is nice. Tomorrow with 3 fresh faces and I suspect a lot more lashes. Day 18. My muscles have started to grow, I think. I hurt a lot, and on the day off a week we get, I just rest and sleep. But maybe as I keep at it, things will change. A couple friends come by, and their parents seem to think that working in the mines means that I'm not a threat. But I don't have any energy to really do much. They talk about what's been going on and what I've missed. I hope none of them are selected for the mine. Yusin said that the Xeno that I saw likes some guy. The others tried to keep him quiet, but I just laughed. Sure, she looked cute, but she's not human. I realize now that it doesn't matter. Even without the ghost line, my dad's old, and so is Doc. I'll be the last human alive on this stupid rock, sooner or later. Day 21. It's been 3 weeks now. If they say this is the fastest anyone's been moved up from pick to a shoulder draw, it's heavy, but I could use it, and fix it on my own. No team required. The overseer can't argue with my efficiency. The battery pack also means no more lashes. Small favors, though, since the damn thing is hot. Day 31. Been busy. Work, eat, sleep. Just about all I can do is string along thoughts to get from one thing to another. 2 cave-ins last week. None in my section. I've been telling him which way to dig. Not like officially, of course. Just saying things like, I'm gonna dig this way. And I got a good feeling about it, and I know that enough to follow my lead. Doc says that Dad's tests are looking better, which is good. He didn't cough once while we spoke, just tried to tell me all the stuff he's been said a million times. I'll ask us to let me know when I'm doing fine. Day 45. Another cave-in. Something's pushing Taskmaster, and I don't know what. 2 more beat to death, and on top of who we lost in the cave-in. I hope, like crazy, that I don't see any of my friends in here tomorrow. Day 46. Hogan, the poor stupid bastard. Why you? I talked to Nisrin and got him assigned to a work crew. He's a Tiskrek's battery keeper. Gotta keep an eye on him. Day 52. Doc says that they're starting to ask questions about Dad. He tried to play it off like I was just taking his place, but they weren't having it. It's their call if someone can retire, and they're not letting my dad retire. Something about quotas. Then the Taskmaster is really getting some orders about cranking up production. Day 63. Dad says I've really filled out in the last 2 months. I have to agree that the work has made me strong. Not strong enough to keep from being tired all the time, but still, I'm getting better. Not good enough to save Hogan from getting lashed, though. I keep telling him to pay more attention, to keep focus on the pack at all times. He just doesn't quite get it. I feel bad, but I'm not getting whipped because I'm doing my work, and then some. Day 75. Dad finally had to come back down. Nursim and Chris somehow convinced the overseers to let him have a minor duties. He's basically guiding the vein digs now. You'll meet those damn quotas, all right. Day 80. Production is up. We're doing good. No cave-ins, quotas are being met. That's all it took for him to get us back on track. See them try and say that humans are worthless now. Day 90. Why are we here on our day off? I asked Dad as we were up in the main hollow before I'd head out to the vein. I want you to go with the blasting team. Watch how they work, where they place the charges. They've got you slated for demolitions work soon, and I prefer you watch it happen before they give you anything that'll go boom. What? Afraid? Then I'll use it to make my escape. Let me just stuff it in my pants, and I'll use it to blast off this rock. We laughed, and we shook our head before I saw the Crester waving at me across the way. I dodged one of the drone haulers and made it over to them before looking back and seeing the Taskmaster next to Dad. I froze. Where had he come from? The massive Xeno spoke to Dad, and I kept watching. Don't cough. Don't cough. The Taskmaster was nodding about something. Was he actually going to let Dad become a real foreman? The things that we could dig up if we had really had in charge. Maybe it would be a good thing that the Taskmaster had someone pushing him on. Then one of the drone haulers drove past and partially dusted load, and I saw Dad cough. The fog came out, not as bad as before, but no! I started running forwards, before I felt Cresta and his team pull me back out of the way from the next drone hauler. I saw the taskmaster pull his firearm free, just as my dad looked up. No! The drone hauler blocked them from sight, but I heard the echo of a shot, and once it passed I saw my father's body crumpled on the floor of the mine. I pulled free of the crew's grip, running across just before the next hauler hit me. I was making noises, but I couldn't consciously tell what I was doing when I was trying to say. As I got close to something hit me in the gut, and I collapsed just feet from my father's body. I tried to reach out for him, pull myself closer, but strong metal hands were pulling me away. I was crying, sobbing, tears and snot running down my face, and this dust and dirt got stuck to it all. I was hauled up by 2 guards as I was kept out of reach of my dad. Very disappointing. I thought you came down to start learning more skills, to improve yourself and to make a bid against assigned a mate. But instead it seems that you were trying to hide this weakness. I looked up to Taskmaster, vision blurry with tears, confused by his words. How very, extremely irritating. He leaned down, screaming in my face. I had plans for him, plans for you. And now a waste. He didn't have time to teach you everything, and the quotas won't stop. I didn't see the backhand coming at me, but I felt the pain searing across my face as his talons tore into my flesh. Blood now mixing with tears. You pathetic wretches are always such a disappointment. I was in shock. I couldn't think. I just felt pain. Pain, sadness. No anger. Not yet. Take him to the doctor. I won't punish him for his father's weakness, but I won't reward him. No more days off. You're either working a vein or learning a new skill. I'm tired of the old rules. You'll learn quickly if you don't want others to suffer for your mistakes. The taskmaster waved dismissively as the guards began to drag me back towards the surface. I saw the incineration team moving forwards towards my father's body. They weren't willing to risk letting the ghost stunk spread. I don't really remember much else that day. Doc patched me up, but I had scars for sure. While I was getting tended to in the med bay, one of the guards brought up a small steel container and handed it to me. And on the side was written, a reminder. It was my father's ashes. You don't need the old room now. You're staying on this level, room 13, the guard growled. That's just a closet, I heard the dog protest, but I was staring at the container. He needs nothing more than a bed and books we give him. Taskmaster says you learn quick, or the others suffer. On the wall I could see the mine account, 2,999. Day 120. It's been a month since. Day 132. It's a day off and I'm reading more manuals and books about mining and gear. It's my birthday. I'm alone in the closet that is now my bedroom. Happy birthday to me. I'm 18, an adult. Day 145. I'm the best blaster there is, bar none. And the others won't work with me anymore, though. They say I'm too dangerous. And they're probably right, but it gives me time to be alone. Day 167. I nearly killed myself. I was careless. I knew I was too close to the seam, and I brought down a lot of ore, but I was trapped in the dark for 4 hours while they dug me out. I sort of hoped that I might just suffocate, but they did get me out. The overseer's only remark? Good job. There's a lot of ore. Back to work. I get it now. I don't want to die. I want them to die. I'm done. I'm not going to live out my life like this. I'm just not. Day 193. Most of my friends are in the mines. I don't care anymore. I'll free them soon. The overseer says that I'm working harder than ever. I can fix machines, guide drills, and blow open new paths like a Beshik at the end of his days. I told him that I was born to do this. What I plan next I was not born to do. But I will do it. I've been studying, I've been reading, and I've been planning. 1 day a week, I get 3 hours of the old side tunnel near the surface. I'll lie about what I'm doing, but they don't care anyway. I'm digging with just the las pick, and I'm getting close to the maintenance room beneath the arcade quarters. A fraction of the number of the rest of us with 3 times the space, and all of the accommodations that they desire. They're getting soft, they're getting lazy. Day 243. Been so damn busy, getting closer to my goal. Gotta be careful now. I can't trust anyone. I've seen them get beaten to death. whipped to shreds, and they won't stand up. They all think Archaeans are invincible. They're wrong. The Archaeans are always so careful about their whips and weapons in their building. Why would they need those? We've got mining tools. They'll learn soon. Day 289. I wanted to show the others our tormentors are not immortal. It was perfect. I knew the fat lazy overseer in vein 473 always hangs back. I set off an explosion along the seam 3 veins over and disturbed the rock, crushing him like planned. No one else was hurt. I was hauled in front of the taskmaster in the main cave before everyone else. I begged and pleaded, and I had no idea that would happen. I'd been pushing myself hard, trying to learn quick as he asked. And I thought about my dad and I cried a bit. Really sold the performance, I think. He said he'd be kind and spare my life, but my ignorance wasn't an excuse. 50 lashes, medium power, before everyone. My sobbing was real before long. My back was in ribbons. It was worth it. Day 300. It wasn't worth it. They all talk about how crazy it was, but they seem to think that the only way that they can die is if someone drops 10 tons of rocks on their heads. I have to show them. They have to see. I've begun sneaking out tools, picking locks, and I've done some caches already, and I know how to open more. Day 312. Another day off. I was reading in my room when a guard suddenly opened the door and shoved a Xeno inside. Heard you used to like this one. He laughed and left. I was confused as hell until I recognized Avian. Her clothes were torn. She was crying. I didn't know how far they'd gone, but I sure as hell didn't ask. They were mocking me, hurting people I liked. I wasn't sure. I pulled her close, tried to soothe her. She wasn't very fluent in Archaeish, but I tried to convey what I could. I sung for her, the old lullaby my mom sang to me when I was little. Before they split her up from my dad and I, she seemed to like that. I just held her close until she seemed better and told her to stay strong. I didn't tell her my plans or anything, just in case. Day 326. I broke into the maintenance room last night. Perfect spot. Got no idea how long it'll be, so I'll have to make this work. I took Dad's ashes to the dock. I asked him if there was still ghost lung in the dust in it. He wasn't sure, but figured there might be a bit. Then I asked him if he could make sure that there wasn't left. I know he was confused, but I know that he won't talk. Day 330. Doc gave me back the ashes. Didn't say a word, but he also handed me a protective mask. Day 337. I dumped the ashes into the air ventilation machine. See how they like breathing the dust. I also installed a bomb to cover up my tracks. Day 342. A lot of overseers have a nasty cough these days. Day 345. I've got no idea what our home world was really called, but my mom used to tell me how beautiful it was. Her mother told her that was at least. Blue skies, green trees, birds singing. It sounds nice. Even though I have no idea what it was really called, I know that today it would have been 1 year back there from the day that I first entered the mines to work. It's the last day that I enter the mines. I wait for most of the shift to leave before I trigger the bomb. People are screaming, the ground is shaking, and I scream about a big collapse. Tell everyone that with an able body to get to the mine. We gotta help. The mine, of course, people will be shaking around and scared, but they're fine. People don't notice the Archaeid building shaking harder and smoke pouring out of it. As everyone gets into the main cave, I start tossing picks, drills, explosives. They're confused. One of the overseers sees me and walks over. But before he can say anything, I've driven a lance pick straight through his helmet. I can hear the gasps all around me. Pick up your tools. We're going to need them. I just hit their home. They aren't immortal. They're our captors. It's up to us to bring them down. I saw 2 overseers rush out of one of the side tunnels and heft up the impact drills that I'd removed from safety. The bolt went straight through his chest before putting him to the wall. The second screamed before the second bolt went through his head. I dropped the impact driver and hurled the charge into the entrance of the Vein 34, where they had the break room set up. 4 of them got smeared across the walls. The others were scared and confused. They needed to see. They needed to fight. They were a massive roar as I saw the taskmaster burst free from the smoke coming out of the tunnel as I used to sneak into the maintenance room. You! He pointed at me and charged. I ducked, jumped, and swiped with a digging claw. I heard him scream as I dug 3 deep gouges into his face. He'd have scars just like mine now. I turned and tried to leap in the impact driver, but he grabbed me, and the suit made him too fast. But I bet he wished that he had a helmet now. The talons squeezed on my throat, and he lifted me into the air. I could see more guards coming down the main ramp, and out into the tunnels, but they were seriously outnumbered by the miners standing around. The taskmaster was focused on me. I'll torture you for years. The pain will be unending, and nothing will stop it. I will take you to your homeworld and put you on display. This was where my plan ended. I gasped, hands pulling at his forearms to try and take the weight off my throat. Maybe, but I'll see your mother there and show her what a real species can do in bed. He screamed in my face and tightened his grip. Everything hurt for a moment, but I felt a snap and then went numb. He tossed me to the ground, but I couldn't feel it. I was just looking up at everything from the floor. He rubbed a hand against the bleeding cuts on his face. Back to work, all of you! He screamed at the miners, but I saw them stare back. They looked at the dead guards, they looked at the bleeding face. They looked at me. You heard him, one of the overseers with a whip stepped forward, rising his arm up to lash out. But Caster stepped forward and drove a pick through the overseer's faceplate, just like I had earlier. The entire area was silent. Then it all exploded. The miners were rushing forwards towards the Archaeans, either died or starting to run. I could see the fear flash across the taskmaster's face. Not used to the emotions, you bastard. Get used to it. I wish that I could have said that. Someone was soon kneeling near me, perhaps trying to help, but I was fading now, and I could still hear the screaming and yelling. There were other explosions. Finally, I had shown them the way. I knew. For generations that they'd been using the tools of their oppressors to dig in the ground. They'd never seen those tools could be used to free themselves. Sometimes all it took was a spark. Today, a man died. But a rebellion was started. Rebellion, Day 1. End of story. And that, my friends, is the end of this Reddit Quickie. I hope that you enjoyed. If you'd like to support the channel or the author, all the stuff is down below. And as always, I hope that you guys have a good one, and I'll see you in the next story. Cheers.